I watched through the garage window as my children, Ethan and Sophie, tried to balance their paper plates on makeshift cardboard box tables. The November wind whistled through the gaps under the garage door, making Sophie pull her thin sweater tighter around her shoulders. "Mom," Ethan whispered when I snuck out to check on them. "Why does Grandma Eleanor hate us?" My heart shattered as Sophie carefully cut her turkey with a plastic knife, trying not to spill anything on her best dress, the one she'd been so excited to wear to her first grown-up Thanksgiving dinner. Now she was sitting on an overturned bucket while, inside, Eleanor's wealthy friends enjoyed the feast at her prized mahogany dining table. "She doesn't hate you, sweetheart," I lied, hearing the tinkling of crystal and the sophisticated laughter from the main house. "She's just ashamed of us," Sophie finished, her voice small. "Because Dad works at a factory and you're just a teacher." If only they knew. If only Eleanor knew that her son's factory job was actually running our global manufacturing empire under a different name. Or that they're just a teacher. Mother owned half the private schools in the state. We kept our wealth quiet for years, living modestly while building our company. Eleanor had no idea that her precious social circle's businesses largely depended on contracts with our corporations, or that her beloved country club's mortgage was held by one of our subsidiaries. "Sarah?" Eleanor's sharp voice cut through my thoughts. "Where are you? The Worthingtons are asking about you." I squeezed my children's hands. "Just a little longer," I promised. Sometimes the best lessons take time. Inside, Eleanor's immaculate dining room looked like something out of a magazine. Her social circle, all old money and older prejudices, sat around the table, dripping in jewelry and judgment. "There you are," Eleanor's smile was razor sharp. "The help mentioned something about a plumbing issue in the garage. Nothing serious, I hope." The help was her code for my children. My fingers curled into fists beneath my napkin. "Actually," I began, but she smoothly talked over me. "Sarah was just telling me about her little classroom," Eleanor announced to her friends. "So noble, teaching in those underfunded areas." Victoria Worthington, dripping in diamonds that probably cost more than Eleanor's house, nodded condescendingly. "It must be so rewarding, helping a less fortunate. Though I can't imagine dealing with those sorts of children. Those sorts of children, like my own, currently eating turkey off paper plates in a cold garage." "Speaking of children," Eleanor's voice turned sharp, "I trust yours are occupied." "They're eating in the garage," I said clearly, watching her face pale. "Since you didn't want your friends to know about your grandchildren." Silence fell over the table. Eleanor's perfect hostess mask cracked slightly. "Sarah, dear," she forced a laugh. "What an imagination. My friends know I'm far too young for grandchildren. And even if I had them, they certainly wouldn't be in the garage." "Then perhaps we should invite them in," I suggested quietly. "It's getting rather cold out there." "I don't think," Eleanor started but was interrupted by the garage door opening. My husband James stood there, our children beside him, their paper plates still in hand. His face held an expression I'd never seen before, a cold fury that made Eleanor step back. "Mother," he said quietly, "would you like to explain why my children are eating Thanksgiving dinner next to the lawnmower?" Eleanor's guests shifted uncomfortably. Victoria Worthington's hand flew to her throat, no doubt calculating the social damage of being associated with such a scene. "James," Eleanor's voice turned sugary. "I thought you were working late at the factory. We were just about to..." "To what?" He cut in. "To acknowledge your grandchildren, to treat them like human beings instead of embarrassments to be hidden away." "Now really," Eleanor huffed, "you know how important appearances are. After you chose to work in that factory instead of joining your father's firm. After you married a teacher, I've had to maintain certain standards." Sophie's paper plate trembled in her hands. "We tried to be quiet, Grandma. We used the plastic forks like you said, so nobody would hear us." The look of horror on the guests' faces wasn't from learning Eleanor had grandchildren. It was from realizing she'd banished them to the garage like unwanted pets. I reached for my phone, nodding slightly to James. It was time. "Mother," James's voice was deadly quiet, "would you like to know what I was doing at the factory today?" Eleanor's perfectly lined lips trembled. "James, please, not in front of." "I was finalizing the purchase of your country club," he continued, "along with the private school your friends' grandchildren attend and most of the businesses they own." The silence was absolute. Even the classical music Eleanor had chosen as sophisticated background noise seemed to hold its breath. "That's impossible," Victoria whispered. "Those businesses are owned by Wellington Industries." "Yes," I smiled, pulling up the contracts on my phone. "They are. Would you like to meet the CEO of Wellington Industries, Eleanor? Though you might know her better as your just-a-teacher daughter-in-law." The crystal glasses on Eleanor's prized dining table trembled as Victoria Worthington pushed back her chair with a screech. Around the table, other guests began frantically checking their phones, no doubt seeing the breaking news about Wellington Industries' latest acquisitions. "This is some kind of joke," Eleanor's voice quivered. "James works at the factory. Sarah teaches at that public school." "Actually," James stepped forward, still holding Sophie's paper plate, "I run our global manufacturing division. And Sarah's little classroom is where she researches educational methods for the private schools we own, including the one your friends paid so much to get their grandchildren into." Victoria's face had gone from shock to calculating. "Eleanor, darling, you never told us your son was so accomplished." "Because she didn't know," I said quietly. "She was too busy hiding her grandchildren in garages and making them use plastic forks to avoid embarrassing her in front of her real friends." Ethan, my brave boy, stepped forward. "Is that why you made us eat Christmas dinner in the basement last year, Grandma?" "Because the Petersons were coming." Eleanor's perfect makeup couldn't hide her growing pallor. "I was protecting our family's reputation by forcing your own grandchildren to eat scraps in the cold." James's voice could have frozen hell. "Tell me, Mother, how's your retirement account doing? The one invested entirely in Wellington Industries subsidiaries." The sound of Eleanor's wine glass shattering on the imported marble floor echoed through the suddenly silent room. "Sarah," Victoria tried for a gracious smile, "perhaps we should discuss the upcoming school board elections. I've always said you'd make an excellent—" "Save it," I cut in. "I've already been on the board for 3 years. Under my maiden name. The same board that rejected your proposal to exclude scholarship students from school events." Eleanor's social circle began a hasty retreat, years of carefully cultivated alliances crumbling in the face of revealed power dynamics. Victoria practically ran for the door, leaving her precious Hermes scarf behind. "The garage is quite cold this time of year, isn't it?" I mused, watching Eleanor sink into her expensive dining chair. "Perfect place to store wine or hide grandchildren you're ashamed of." "I never meant—" Eleanor's voice cracked. "The social expectations were more important than your own blood." James finished. "Than watching your grandchildren eat turkey off paper plates while you serve caviar to people who wouldn't spit on you if you lost your status." Sophie, my sweet Sophie, tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, can we go home? I'm still hungry." "Of course, sweetheart," I smiled. "Though first I think it's time we showed Grandma Eleanor exactly what her social status is worth now." I pulled up another document on my phone, the deed to Eleanor's precious mansion. "You see, Eleanor, when you forced the children to eat in the garage last Christmas, I began buying up your debt. Your mortgage, your car loans, your credit cards. It's amazing what people will sell when Wellington Industries comes calling." "You can't." Eleanor's perfectly manicured hands trembled. "This house has been in the family for generations." "Yes," James agreed. "And now it belongs to your grandchildren, the ones you made eat off cardboard boxes." The children's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "You mean?" Ethan started. "The garage is yours to do whatever you want with," I confirmed. "Though personally, I think it would make an excellent playroom. Much better than storing unwanted grandchildren. Don't you think, Eleanor?" Eleanor sat amid the ruins of her Thanksgiving feast, watching as her carefully constructed social world crumbled. Around her, expensive plates still held half-eaten meals abandoned by her fleeing friends. "The children's rooms will be upstairs," I announced, scrolling through renovation plans on my phone. "Where you currently keep your special occasion china, the china you wouldn't let them touch because their hands were too common." But where will I go?" Eleanor whispered, her voice small for the first time in our 12 years of knowing each other. "The garage has plenty of space," James replied coldly, "though you might want to invest in better heating. Those cardboard box tables don't provide much warmth." Sophie, ever compassionate despite everything, stepped forward. "We can share, Grandma, like you should have shared with us." The simple kindness in my daughter's voice seemed to break something in Eleanor. Tears began tracking through her perfect makeup. I just wanted to maintain our family's position, she sobbed. Our status. Status? I picked up one of the paper plates my children had been using. Was it worth making your grandchildren eat like servants? Worth missing every school play, every science fair, every moment that actually mattered? The Worthington support was crucial for what? James interrupted. For pretending to be something you're not. Victoria Worthington is probably calling her lawyers right now, terrified we'll pull her family's contracts with Wellington Industries. As if on cue, Eleanor's phone began buzzing with messages from her social circle, no doubt trying to salvage their connections to the newly revealed power players in their midst. The renovation starts tomorrow, I stated firmly. The children's wing will include a library, study rooms, and a proper dining room where everyone eats together, using whatever utensils they choose. Ethan looked up from his paper plate. Can we have a science lab too? Like the one at school? Of course, James smiled. Right where Grandma's social club used to meet. Eleanor's face crumpled as another piece of her world slipped away. You have two choices, I continued. You can stay in the garage and learn what it feels like to be treated as less than family. Or you can leave and explain to your precious social circle why you no longer have access to the Wellington Industries connections they so desperately need. You're enjoying this, she accused weakly. Actually, I corrected, I'm teaching you what you should have learned years ago. That family is about love, not social status. That grandchildren are blessings, not embarrassments to be hidden away. Sophie, still holding her plastic fork, approached her grandmother. We would have loved you anyway, Grandma, even without the fancy house and important friends. Those simple words seemed to hit Eleanor harder than any revelation about money or power. As we left her sitting among the scattered remains of her Thanksgiving feast, I heard her soft sobs echo through the empty dining room. Tomorrow, contractors would begin transforming her shrine to social status into a home where children could laugh, play, and eat at proper tables. Mom, Ethan asked as we headed home, will Grandma really have to eat in the garage? That's up to her, I replied. Sometimes people need to experience what they've done to others before they can truly change. James squeezed my hand. And sometimes the best revenge isn't in causing pain, but in teaching empathy, I finished. Even if the lesson has to be learned in a cold garage with paper plates and plastic forks. As we drove away, I caught one last glimpse of Eleanor through the window, alone in her perfect dining room, finally understanding that true worth isn't measured in china patterns or social connections, but in the love we give to those who matter most.